So, in this first week, everything I do will be important because it is the foot standing of where I am going to be. So the people I'm going to team up with are probably going to be the ones I end up with for the rest of this SMP. So I could either be in good terms or I could stay dead. So hello there, and today I didn't film for the entire week, but it's mostly because it was boring. I mean, I was gearing up for the first time in my life. And it is not fun having to film only 10 minutes where I do absolutely nothing, or I talk to people too much. But now I want to do a few highlights of the most important parts. And now, for the first actual recording that I did quite some stuff. So, first of all, I actually encountered my first teammate, and I guess we discovered a sandwalker power that's walking sand. Well, it kind of makes sense what it is, but of course I find my teammate and I start talking to them about our plans and stuff. And most definitely we're not talking about steak. And I must say that was very boring as part of the filming, so I don't actually want to put the voices because really we don't say interesting by talking a language. And I'm thinking that this guy, he wants to go to war. But after that, I go to a village and I find one more thing for my objective. And then now we get into the second room in which I'm opening up the portal to the world, which will be also important for my objectives because I want to be able to sell foods, potions, and artillery. Which for that I will need rice and I will need blaze bolts, in which in this mod are actually pretty easy to get because there's a bind that can naturally spawn cast and so I go back to my house because I found a waystone because I didn't really know that we were. But anyways, I end up into a bastion which we find, but let me say we find nothing but death in that place. And this very quick thing, I start farming the blazes because, really. And then this is the end of the second recording into the Village of Emperors, which has been abandoned. But now, well, we are into our third recording, which is where we start getting more dull. So, what I want to do in this recording is that I want to show the shop that I'm making, because even though we are not ready to have our own shops, because we are in the brim of war in this place, and I'm not excited for a day that somebody actually decides to invade the base. They can just start attacking properly. But instead, they just do dirty work. But then, I find a little dungeon again. I give up immediately. But then I decide to meet one of my friends that has entered the server. And he says a shout out like, "Yo, Big Dave!" Which is not my name, but whatever. But anyways, I finally make one of the many bombs during this mod, which is the dirt bomb that is rather useless for damage, but rather it can suffocate people and it can help to rebuild stuff. And then here in this footage, I spend about 20 minutes going back and forth to my base. But since I didn't actually want to share any info in my whereabouts, except to my teammates, well, I guess now we know. We cannot know where my base is, so I make very sharp cuts. But anyways, I start making a lot of plates for my shop. For example, cut tentacles. And soon enough you see that my biggest, most awesome plate is the breakfast, which is made out of fried eggs, peeled potatoes, and something else I do not remember. And this is how the shop looks like with shaders. And anyways, this is my last recording. It was filmed like 3 days before the editing because all the other days I was super focused into gearing up, or I was just not in the mood for filming, or I wasn't available. So this is my farm that I'm making. Obviously I need to make it bigger, but this will be in a later episode when I do a total overhaul and I make a lower floor and stuff. But I cannot go too low because I know the Star Nautica is going to be looking for me. But I start planting my rice, and something that I didn't quite figure out while I was filming this is that apparently you need light and farmers do light to properly put these crops. But you know, I put what I can. But anyways, this is the end of my recording, so this is goodbye. Anyways, thank you for watching this video, which was my second instance, in which in the Asteroid City was the very last that we were able to film, but since the server is going to be logged in that app, it's not going to be the last. I think it's going to be close. But anyways, thank you to Heaven for the music of Ultra that I put inside of this soundtrack. And of course, next episode we're going to finally have the collab with Great Panda, which you probably do not know as much as Dr. Me. But anyway, see you next time.